All right, it's that time of the week again. Welcome into the NFC West Huddle. I'm Ethan McReynolds. I'm joined by Richard Sines in Phoenix, Keyshawn Ward in San Francisco, and Gerard Moncure joining us from Los Angeles. Obviously, there's some things going on in the real world that are much more important than football. The Palisades fire continues to spread in L.A. So, Gerard, I want to go to you first. Just open up the floor. What's the last week been like for you? What's the vibe at the Rams facility with everything going on? And has it been business as usual? How have things been affected?
Okay, well, for me personally, I live in Woodland Hills, which is where the Rams facility is, where I am right now. This area of Los Angeles has not been affected at all. Everything that took place was basically over on the other side of the Santa Monica Mountains by the ocean. That's where the Pacific Palisades fire was and continues as it moves into the mountains, but north, kind of away from homes. Obviously, it did a ton of damage. Right now, the take is over 1,000 structures. And then the other fires, the Somar fire was north of here, and that's under control. And the Hollywood fire was put out last night. Basically, you know what? I mean, we haven't had sports at Fox 11 here the last couple of days. Understandable. All the focus has been on this fire tragedy that's taken place. As far as football goes, I am in Woodland Hills, as I said, at the Rams facility. The air quality is good here because the winds are blowing northwest towards the ocean. So that means they're also blowing away from Inglewood, which is kind of located in the South Bay, which is where SoFi Stadium is. So should the conditions remain like this, it appears the game will go on as planned Monday night, Rams-Vikings wildcard round. I asked Sean McVay in his press conference a little while ago. He said the team was preparing as if they will play the game Monday night at SoFi. Obviously, the contingency plan from the NFL is to move the game to Glendale outside of Phoenix should issues arise and they can't put the game on here with obviously proper police protection, emergency personnel who are scattered across the city dealing with the issues that we have right now. Other than all the people losing their homes, and I believe right now 5 people losing their lives, you know, life is somewhat normal, but obviously this is a major tragedy here in Los Angeles that they're going to be talking about for a long time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we are taping this episode on Thursday, so as of now, Gerard, the game looks like it is set to be played in Los Angeles. We all send our thoughts and prayers to everyone affected, including everyone there, your team at Fox 11 LA, Gerard. Glad you're safe and able to talk some football with us today, really. So we're going to get into the playoffs and dive deeper into that Rams matchup in a minute, Gerard. But I'm curious to hear about some of the headlines to come out of the end-of-season pressers this week from the rest of us non-playoff teams in the division. Richard, I'll go to you first. What's being talked about in regards to the Cardinals this week?
Well, yeah, it's kind of been a mixed bag for the Arizona Cardinals, right? Where they feel better about where they were at this point last year. Last year they won 4 games, so they doubled their win total, going from 4 to 8 this year, and only the second year under head coach Jonathan Gannon. But there's still a bitter taste in their mouth, knowing the opportunity that they had, going 6-4 to start the season, heading into the bye week in first place in the division, having a legitimate chance, a hold on that division, and having a chance to make the playoffs for the first time in a while, and then faltering at the end. And that was just a tough pill to swallow, even though you can see that they're trending in the right direction. That seemed to be the message, like, hey, we know we're getting better each year, but boy, we had an opportunity here. And it was a lot like the Arizona State Sun Devils, the football team here that, overachieved. The ASU, we knew they were going to be better this year, but then they had a chance to overachieve, and they did. The Cardinals had a chance to overachieve, and they didn't. And they where we expect them to be now, yeah, I thought they were going to be an 8 or 9 win team. But boy, when you're 6-4 heading into the bye week with a chance to make the postseason and you falter there at the end, that's tough. But still, you can see the culture's changing. They're getting in some better players, the type of players that fit the system of Jonathan Gannon, and they're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, Richard, I want to ask you about Kyler Murray. Are there any questions about him and his job security? Do you think the Cardinals can win a Super Bowl with Kyler at the helm? It seems like there's some inconsistency there for a guy that's supposed to be a franchise quarterback.
Yeah, and that's been a hot topic here. So, yeah, that's definitely a question that a lot of the fans have been asking, and especially in the second half of the season where he didn't play as well as he did in the beginning of the season, because at times he was in, legitimate conversations for the MVP. He had some games that were fantastic, right? Where he had a perfect quarterback rating and they were looking good. But then when they needed him most, towards the end, not only Kyler Murray, but the rest of the team did not play up to the expectations. And it's funny, I always joke, it's the Godfather where he says, right when I'm out, they suck me back in. Right when you think, okay, they're not going to make the playoffs this year. They start out like that. You get excited, you think, hey, I think they're going to win the division and make the playoffs. Then they go back to breaking your heart again. And a lot of fans, I think, are fed up with Kyler Murray, where they think they need to make a move. The Cardinals do. But when you hear Jonathan Gannon at the end of the season, he says he's going to ride with Kyler Murray. He says he's a franchise quarterback. Of course, he's under contract for the next couple of years, so they're going to have to ride with him. But he feels he just needs a better supporting cast where Kyler Murray doesn't have to be the hero each and every week for this team to win, not just Kyler Murray.
And Keyshawn, the Niners seem like they're full of storylines entering what should be an eventful offseason. What are some of the main headlines being talked about this week, including but not limited to Brock Purdy?
I think that the team is kind of talking to Purdy about his contract situation because recently in a presser, Brock Purdy has put the message out there that he does not want to reset the market similar to what Dak Prescott did with the Cowboys. And we've been talking about this for weeks. I think Purdy's mindful of the fact that if he becomes a highest paid quarterback, he's going to lose some key contributors on the roster. So I think Purdy's making the right decision by trying to negotiate on the contract terms to where he's going to get paid, top dollar, be one of the highest paid, but not the highest paid quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, I'll go next for the Seahawks. Mike McDonald and John Schneider wasted no time making their first big move of the offseason, firing first-year offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb first thing Monday morning after Sunday's season finale. It was a move that a lot of people saw coming. McDonald had expressed frustration throughout the season about the lack of run-pass balance within the offense. I mean, the Seahawks ranked 29th in rushing attempts this year. It's not like they were that bad when they did run it. They were middle of the pack in terms of yards per carry at 4.2. It's clear a big part of Mike McDonald's philosophy on offense is being physical, establishing a run game, and it could be more conducive to winning. None of the bottom 10 teams in rushing attempts this year made the playoffs, while the top 6 in that category are still competing for a Super Bowl. Tom Pelissero has reported that the Seahawks are going to interview Lions offensive line coach Hank Fraley for their offensive coordinator job, along with a couple of other candidates that have been announced as of Thursday. A sign that getting that running game going is a necessity for Mike McDonald. And the other major storyline heading into the offseason, what will the Seahawks do at quarterback? Richard, I know you love Geno Smith and when he plays the Cardinals, but Geno wants an extension and a pay raise with just 1 year left on his deal. But, I mean, committing multiple years to a 34-year-old doesn't seem like the smartest move to me. But, I mean, really, what are the other options? We trading for Kirk Cousins. Cousins is even older. He's 36, making just as much money as Geno. And throwing the injury history, I'm definitely passing on that. Colin Cowherd floated J.J. McCarthy as an option for the Hawks, with the Vikings unlikely to move on from Sam Darnold. But it's going to take a lot of draft capital to get him. Some people saying the price is going to be as high as a top 10 pick with the weak quarterback draft. McCarthy would be a high draft pick this year. That's something obviously the Hawks don't have. Plus the Vikings have not publicly made him available. So who knows if they even want to trade him. My guess is they run it back with Geno on his current contract. But that really only kicks the can down the road a year longer. All right, let's talk playoffs. The Rams, repping the NFC West, are 1-point underdogs at home against the Vikings. As of now, Gerard, you mentioned it, on Thursday we're recording this episode. The game still set to be played on Monday at SoFi Stadium, but it could be moved to Glendale if the fire worsens or conditions change. So, Gerard, what are your thoughts on this matchup? How is all the circumstances in LA affecting the players, and what's your game prediction?
Okay. We asked Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford about the situation around the city. Did it affect any players personally? It only affected some Rams staffers that had evacuations, and I do know of one Rams staffer that lost his house. As far as the players, everyone seems to be okay. Now, Matthew Stafford said, again, this is Thursday, Matthew Stafford said they have been watching and paying attention, obviously, at home, but once they walk into the facility, it's all about football. Now, I believe that they'll have to kind of repeat the performance in Week 8, where they beat the Vikings 30-20. That was 2 weeks after their bye week. Remember, they started 1-4, had the bye week, and then went on a tear. In that game, they protected Matthew Stafford. He was able to throw for 279 and 4 touchdowns, had 1 pick. Kyron Williams ran for 97 yards. The Rams ran for 107 overall. And Puka Nacua with a huge game, 7 catches, over 100 yards, I believe 106. And offense was playing one of its better games of the year in that victory, 30-20 over the Vikings. Defensively, they were able to get Sam Darnold off of his spots, and they sacked him 3 times for 28 yards. These are the type of things they'll need to do, again, if they're going to beat the Vikings for a second time. Obviously, beating an NFL team twice in a season is a very difficult thing to do. One thing that might galvanize this team a little bit, Matthew Stafford mentioned whenever we put the uniform on, we rep the city of L.A. But he and Sean McVay were both asked several times, with the situation going on in the Southland right now, could this help the team galvanize and rally themselves and play for the city? And their response both was a little bit surprising to me. It was actually, yeah. We want to go out there and make people feel better about what's going on right now in their personal lives, give them an escape. So, if this game stays being played at SoFi Stadium, I think it will be an electric atmosphere, and I think the Rams, without a doubt, will be ready to play in that wild card game on Monday night.
Yeah, well, good news to hear that, at least for the players, none of their homes have been affected, so that's good. Richard, I'll go to you. What do you think? Do the Rams get through wild card weekend and beat the Vikings on Monday?
Well, first of all, tip of the cap, right? A thumbs up to Gerard out there doing a great job. He's at the facility, he's at practice, but still takes time to talk to us. And he made an excellent point that even though if the fires are not an issue, the people that help protect the fans and the players at the game, right? The law enforcement, the resources, if they're being used to contain the fire and be elsewhere, they might have to move it here to Arizona. So that was an excellent point because there's a lot of factors that go involved in putting on an NFL game. So that's something that of course we got to keep an eye on. So great job by Gerard out there. And yeah, this is a really intriguing matchup. One, because of the players and the teams, right? And I'll tell you this, I'll take Kyler Murray over Geno Smith and Sam Darnold, right? Because I'm not very confident in Sam Darnold or Geno Smith. Like I said, Geno's not that guy unless he plays the Cardinals, right? And Sam Darnold, look what happened to him against the Detroit Lions. He kind of went back to the Sam Darnold we know and love. And so it's kind of been interesting because he kind of caught lightning in a bottle. Same with him and Baker Mayfield. It's amazing. It's almost like the light kind of turned on for these guys. But I don't know. I think the Rams, they're peaking at the right time, obviously, but you heard Gerard talk about, could there be, with a mentality of us against the world, right, with what's going on and kind of be galvanized to represent the city of LA. But it could also be a major distraction because, yes, they are not being affected personally, but maybe family members are. And if things have to change and they get out of the routine, that could be a lot to deal with heading into a game against a good Minnesota team. And if they can, Minnesota can make Sam Darnold just manage the game and not have him be the hero, Minnesota has a chance. And I think Vegas knows that. That's why they're on the road and a 1-point favorite.
All right, Keyshawn, we'll go to you next. Do you think the Rams can beat the Vikings on Monday?
Man, Ethan, this is probably the toughest game to evaluate this weekend in the playoffs because, you know what? I've been saying Rams all week, but thinking about it, I'm not confident in the Rams secondary, and I think the Vikings got a very bitter taste in their mouth after last Sunday night when they were pretty much shut down by the Detroit Lions. I'm pretty sure Justin Jefferson is licking his fingers because he gets going against a killer Witherspoon, who is not really great against #1 receivers. So this is going to be very interesting, and you know what? Sam Darnold may be seeing ghosts, but I have a hard time believing that the Rams will beat them twice in one season.
All right, love that. Me personally, I'm going with the Rams. Gerard mentioned it. They're one of 3 teams all year that have beaten the Vikings. I do think the recent offensive struggles are a concern. In the last 3 games where the Rams starters played, they haven't scored more than 20 points. Gerard chalked 2 of those games up to weather, a rainstorm in San Francisco on Thursday night, and awful conditions against the Jets. I'll buy that for sure, Gerard. Don't worry. But we saw a similarly quiet Rams offense in perfect conditions against the Cardinals. So I'm not convinced it's a non-issue. I will say that the Rams being able to rest their starters in Week 18, essentially serving as a bye week, is going to be a big advantage. The Rams' Week 6 bye was their turning point in the season, as Gerard has gone on and on about on this show. They ended up winning 9 of 11 games after that 1-4 start to clinch the division after their bye. So I think we see a fresh Rams team on Monday, and I think they get the win for all of Los Angeles, wherever they end up playing. Hopefully it is in Los Angeles. All right, next topic. How many road teams do you think will advance past this weekend's wild card round? Last year, Green Bay was the only road team to survive through the first weekend. Richard, what do you think? Do we get more than one road team this year? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think we could have a couple. I think Green Bay could do it again. I'm not sure what's going on with Jalen Hurts. Even if he does play and he's cleared, from concussion protocol, I know he's practiced in a limited basis so far early in the week, but he hasn't played since December 22nd, so that's a while. And also he's going to jump into a playoff type game. So I think Green Bay has a shot. I think the Chargers have a shot as well. I'm not sure about Houston. They're a young team. They could be had. And even with Tampa Bay, and you look at Washington, I know Washington has a rookie quarterback, but boy, Cliff Kingsbury has a couple extra weeks, some time to prepare, and they have nothing to lose. They're playing with house money, and I'm not sure about Baker Mayfield. What is he going to do? I know he's had a good year, right? A resurgence of sorts, a lot like Sam Darnold, but the playoffs are a different story. And so I think we could have a couple road teams win. The only home teams that look like pretty much locks are Baltimore and Buffalo. But even then, Lamar Jackson has had his issues in the postseason and against Pittsburgh. So I'm going to stay away from that game as well.
Yeah, I'll go next. I completely agree. I mean, the wild card teams this year are pretty stacked. I mean, you mentioned the Green Bay-Philadelphia game. That's the 2-7 game. What, Philly's only a 4.5-point favorite right now or something like that. Missing Jalen Hurts would definitely be, a bummer for Philly. But even if he is playing, I feel like Green Bay is a good enough team. It's a 7 seed, crazy enough, to pull the upset there. Really, I could see as many as 3 road teams winning if we're not even counting the Packers. I wasn't even thinking about them when I scripted this. I look at the Chargers on the road against Houston. They're favored in that game. Jim Harbaugh, he's a good coach. The Chargers offense has been on fire to end the regular season. Lad McConkey's going crazy on social media. The Commanders, I think, could beat the Bucs. Richard, you mentioned that. They've won their past 5 games. And I picked the Rams, but, I sort of see Keyshawn's point. I could easily see the Vikings winning that one with the Rams' offensive struggles. My final answer, 2. I'm going to go with the Chargers and Commanders advancing to the divisional round. A lot of really good matchups this weekend, starting on Saturday. Keyshawn, I'll go to you next. What about you? How many road teams advance this weekend?
I'm going to say 3, and I'm going to start off with the Chargers. I just think that the Texans have been reeling all season. This has been a true sophomore slump for C.J. Stroud. I mean, the offense has had, Nico Collins missing a bunch of games. They lost Tank, at some point in the season when he tore his knee against the Chiefs. And I just think that the Chargers are trending in the right direction compared to the Texans. They have scored, 25 points or more in the past 4 or 5 games. So I think Chargers take them. And then I think, obviously, I mentioned earlier, I think the Vikings will win on the road against the Rams because I think the Vikings receivers are just better than the Rams secondary. And then the last one, it's a rematch of, I think it was a week 3 game between the Commanders and Bucs. It's at the same place, but I think this Commander team is a lot more electric because Jaden Daniels is a lot more better as the season went on. And I think he's obviously going to be the Rookie of the Year. And I think that the Bucs, they had a good season, but they've been playing the NFC South, and I think the Commanders are just trending in the right direction compared to them. And I think that we're going to have 3 wild card teams win on the road this weekend.
And Gerard, what about you? What are your thoughts?
Well, obviously, I'm in L.A., so I'm a believer in the Chargers going down to Houston. Justin Herbert has had a tremendous year. C.J. Stroud, on the other hand, obviously he's a Southern California guy. But as Key said, he's had a slump, and their offense has not been consistent. So give me Justin Herbert any day of the week with Jim Harbaugh and his presence and his aura leading this Charger team, which is, very different from when Brandon Staley was the head coach. Also, J.K. Dobbins is back. The Charger running game is set to go. And the defense has been solid all year long. I mean, they just play great defense. So give me the Chargers. I believe in them. Is it out of the realm of reality for the Buccaneers to lose at home? No, it's not. I mean, Tampa Bay, come on. They kind of snuck in there against New Orleans in the last week, in Week 18. So, I believe the Commanders can win. I would even put it past the Packers to give Philly a run for their money. It's a different era in Philadelphia, but trust me, one thing I know from working there for 3 years, when a Philly team is picked to win a big game, and it doesn't start out their way, the entire aura of the entire stadium at Lincoln Financial Field starts to go, oh no, here we go again. And I could see that happening, especially if Jalen Hurts isn't on his game due to this concussion protocol issue, and he's not even playing, or maybe he's not 110%. Don't be surprised if the Packers give them a run for their money in Philly this week.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are some good road teams going on the road to first round of the playoffs, but how many times have we seen a 4 seed barely sneak into the playoffs, win the division, and then they surprise the favorite road team? So we're going to see what happens on Saturday and throughout the weekend. All right, finally today, now that we don't have to guess which team is what seed anymore and all that stuff, I'm curious to hear who your favorite is to win each conference and meet in the Super Bowl. I'll go first. I feel like the NFC, it's the Lions to lose, in my opinion. Nobody can keep up with that offense with all of its weapons and how dominant they are on the ground specifically. I feel like Mike McDonald's looking at that Lions offense. It's like, man, I want to get some of that. They lost David Montgomery, but Jahmyr Gibbs looks like he can handle the load of a solo lead back role, no problem. There's no question in my mind I'm picking the Lions to make it to their first Super Bowl in franchise history. That's a crazy sentence. The AFC, a lot tougher. I can see all of the Chiefs, Bills, and Ravens not only making it to the Super Bowl, but also winning it. As much as I want Lamar Jackson to go on a run and change the narrative about his playoff performance, how many times have we gone into the postseason being like, this is the year Lamar gets it done when it matters? I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm never going to bet against Lamar Jackson. I won't be surprised if it does happen. But I'm at a point really where I have to see it to believe it. My pick to win the AFC has to be the Chiefs. I said it a few weeks ago. Neither the Bills or Chiefs have lost a game at home. I think the Bills having to go to Arrowhead, potentially, or the Ravens, really, for the AFC Championship. I think Kansas City protects home field. Something wacky's going to happen in that game. And this Kansas City, right, as it's happened all year for the Chiefs, something's just working for them. I think they're going to be playing for a third straight Super Bowl championship. All right, Gerard, what do you think? Who are your favorites to win each conference? And what are your thoughts on the Rams' chances as well?
I believe the Rams have a puncher's chance. I do. Anytime you have Matthew Stafford, and Matthew Stafford is healthy, which he is, obviously the starters got a rest in Week 18. Rob Havenstein will be back to man the right tackle position. I just believe that, this team under Sean McVay knows how to win these type of games. They have a lot of momentum. Now, do I believe they are the conference favorite? No, that's got to be the Lions. But I will say this, the last 2 times the Rams and Lions played, last year in that playoff game, we've talked about it on this show, the Rams lost basically because the referees didn't throw a flag and they didn't get a chance to kick a field goal. And then they started the year against Detroit this year and lost in overtime. Are the Lions the favorite? Sure. Could I see the Rams beating the Vikings and then beating the Lions? I could. Not out of the realm of reality at all. On the AF side, I think this is the year we see Buffalo return to the Super Bowl. Obviously, in the 90s, they had that run where they lost 4 straight. But this Buffalo team has experience going into Kansas City and coming up just a little bit short. I think this is the year that Josh Allen and the Bills figure out a way to get past the Chiefs. And I also think, and I'm sure the rest of you probably agree with me, Kansas City has been living on a wing and a prayer for so long this season. They just find ways to somehow eke out victories, and I think it's going to catch up with them. I just think their time is it's coming. And I think it's going to be the Bills that deliver that fatal blow and end their chance at winning 3 in a row.
All right, Richard, you're up next. Who are your picks to make it to Super Bowl 58?
All right, well, first of all, I need to get out my diary and take receipts, right? I'm writing it down here. Keyshawn said 3 wildcard teams are going to win. I'm going to put the mortgage on that. And then Gerard says the Eagles will choke, so I'm putting money on that as well. And I hear Ethan nailed it. That's what I'm going to write. Ethan nailed it. You got it spot on. I think the Lions in the NFC, I think they've just been fantastic all year. This is their year. They've looked great. Even though they lost their best defensive player, they're still on fire. The offense is great, and the coach, I tell you, man, they just look like a juggernaut right now. And in the AFC, I'm not going to bet against Patrick Mahomes. I mean, until he proves me wrong, I got to go with him. Even though, Gerard, you're right, it looks like they've been winning with smoke and mirrors. And I would like to see Buffalo, and I think Buffalo has a legitimate chance to win it. And I think that would be cool to see, right? Buffalo, a team that's never won the Super Bowl. The Lions, a team that's never been to the Super Bowl, playing each other. That would be fantastic. And I don't think the Ravens, I'm not a Lamar Jackson guy. I just think he chokes in the playoffs, and he's been doing that every year. And until he doesn't, I'm going to continue to say he's going to choke. Okay? And we'll see what happens. He's got all the weapons, right? He's got a great running back. He's got a good defense. They got home field to a certain degree. But, I'm going with the Chiefs in the AFC just because of that one guy, that dude. He is that guy, Patrick Mahomes.
I think you meant to say Geno Smith there. I'm not sure. All right. Keyshawn, what about you?
I almost did. I thought about it.
What about you, Keyshawn?
Man, Ethan, Richard, he just got me riled up now. This narrative about Lamar Jackson not winning the big game, I'm so sick of it. I was going to say the Bills and Lions, but you know what? I'm going to go with my heart on this one. I just think that Lamar Jackson will finally get over the hump this year. Yes, the Chiefs, they're always standing in his way. But like you guys all mentioned earlier, they've always kind of been this smoke and mirrors. Like, yeah, they're winning all these games, but how long can they sustain this? Yes, would I want to bet money against the Chiefs? Absolutely not. But at the same time, Lamar Jackson's had his best season ever. With stats-wise, I believe he has 40 touchdowns, has over 800 yards rushing, and I think that adding Derrick Henry and this Ravens team, I think that they're going to go on a run and prove all the doubters wrong and finally get that Lombardi Trophy, the third in the Ravens' history, and then I think they'll meet the Lions in the Super Bowl.
I like that pick. I like that
Keyshawn,
pick.
Did I get you riled up, Keyshawn? Am I the drama? Me?
Man.
I had no idea.
I mean,
Oh, man. A lot of good.
Keyshawn, you fell for the okie doke, man. You fell for the okie doke. Don't let Richard do you like that.
I know.
I got him. It was like he bit. He's like a fish. Got him.
All right. Let's get this back on the rails. That's going to do it for us. A lot of great football this weekend to watch. We're going to see what happens. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next week here on the NFC West Huddle.